The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
From Mallory Square in Key West to the Governor's Mansion in Tallahassee and all points beyond, you're listening to the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com, your source for all things related to the craft beer community in the Sunshine State. And now your host, Dave Butler.
Welcome back. It's another episode of the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by Florida Beer Blog and the Florida Podcast Network. This is Dave, your host and author. We're going to be talking about free beer. I know, right? But before we do, make sure that you're liking us. Make sure you're subscribing to us. Make sure you're following us on social media at Florida Beer Blog on Instagram and Twitter. FloridaBeerPodcast.com, FloridaBeerBlog.com, and the FloridaPodcastNetwork.com. We are a big, proud member of them. And we've got some of those new shows. They're getting even closer. I cannot wait for you to hear them. And I am super, super excited. So back to the free beer. And hopefully, if you are good beer people, you are following enough beer brands on your social media to where you will be getting beer-related advertisements. And one of the things that you're going to be getting is an advertisement for an app called Craftapped. Craftapped is a special app where for a small membership fee, and I just renewed my membership a couple weeks ago, actually, you get access to special 2-for-1 deals across the United States. Obviously, most of the details are going to be centered in Minnesota, where the Craftapped team is from. But if you take a look at the Sunshine State, there's a lot, and I mean a lot of deals all over the place. A lot of really good ones near me. In fact, it kind of makes you want to go out and do a little day drinking. What can I say? Oh, I didn't realize they had a BOGO. Nice. Basically, there's all sorts of deals that you have access to through the Craftapped app. Such things as buy one, get one, $12 beer and wings, all sorts of other really great stuff. And it's places all around the state of Florida. I mean, I'm taking a look at South Florida, Southwest Florida. There's a lot in Orlando, obviously the Tampa area. Are all over the place. And so we're going to get a little bit more information on this from Brian Turner. He's one of the partners at Craftapped. He was nice enough to talk to us to understand a little bit more about the background and kind of what they're hoping to accomplish with the app. And if you are a brewery that they have not reached out to yet, or you haven't reached out to them, we'll also get you some details on joining in as well. Enjoy. Well, I guess, how did it get started, Craftapped? How did you kind of create this idea?
This was about 6 years ago. One of our partners had seen an app, and actually it was more of a mobile commerce site through a website, a mobile commerce node through a website that was involved with restaurants in the San Diego area. And these were like sort of higher-end restaurants, and what that commerce site did was bring these restaurants in as partners. And then the partner venues would then offer special things to the members of this restaurant club, this membership club, $10 off a New York strip for the month of April, or Valentine's month, blah, 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 show us, you redeem one of your credits, so to speak, through the restaurant deal and, get a special Valentine's, meal for two, or, you get the idea. And so our partner went, got a little former partner in this case, but he got a light bulb over his head and said, wow, he loved craft beer. And he said, I think this model of sorts would work with some tweaking and the craft beer world. And so we agreed right away and we launched the company. My partner, Bob, and I did sort of the initial outreach with a lot of the venues and what have you, and brought in some brewers. And in the same way as that restaurant, I'm going to call it an app for want of a better word, in San Diego did, we offered X number of credits per month, and you had a monthly fee to be a member. But what we saw right from the beginning was that the more digital we got this thing to be, and the more actual app oriented we got this, the easier it was going to be in the long run to facilitate users just having a great experience. In other words, not jumping through a lot of hoops, not having to go through a website, then the mobile commerce node on the website, and that's kind of slow because you're going through the website. So apps are fast, they're efficient. And so over time, then we developed our app and then made it work and talk to our website. So the user experience with the app became hugely different and just wonderfully more efficient. And so that was really the genesis of it, though, was seeing something kind of similar, but from a different perspective with the restaurant world.
And since obviously there's a lot of different ways that you can take something like that, I mean, restaurants would be one thing. There's a bunch of different things that you could sort of appify in the way that you've sort of done that with beer. Why beer? Why specifically breweries or tap rooms or beer bars, as it were?
Because we were all beer fans. We were all craft beer fans. Yeah, we really were. We were all craft beer fans. We appreciated what the ethic was of the craft beer purveyors. And frankly, that same ethic does run through what I'll call the craft restaurant world, not the chain restaurants, although, of course, there's a pride there with a lot of the folks. But you know what I'm saying? The independently owned and operated, food facilities, the beer facilities have the same vibe going on. And that sort of, dedication to the product, the love of quality, and making sure that quality was a big part, and creativity was a big part of what they did every day. We saw that same thing in the craft beer world, and frankly, the wineries, the cideries, and the craft distillers out there. It's the same sort of creative and positive vibe that we wanted to help reinforce and help support. And so that really was the MO for us on the front end, was supporting the craft beer world. And then, as we've done, expanding it into the craft beverage world in that broader sense.
Gotcha. What was it like approaching the first couple of breweries? What was that conversation? Was there a lot of initial feedback and pushback and concern, or was it pretty positive right off the bat?
It's been positive in every experience. Now, some people are difficult to convince in regard to what we're doing and what they could be doing with us, simply because they see product sort of going out the door. But once you explain the argument, if you will, of using Craftapped as a part of your marketing, because really that's what we're there for. We're there as a tool to bring, butts on bar stools, and then to add layers to how you, as a brewer or a cidery or a winery or a craft distiller, how you're taking your product and your vibe, your story, and putting it out to the customers that you have and the potential customers that you could bring in. It's all a function of marketing. And so the real argument for us is, the story for us is, this is a cost of goods transaction, and that's a lot better than cash when it comes to marketing, as far as we look at it. Cash is money out the door. I mean, it's cash money, and that's a good expense depending on what you're marketing and what you're doing. But when it comes to cost of goods, that's a little easier to account for. You're making beer all the time. So let's use that cost of goods that comes from that beer pour, and you apply it to your marketing headspace rather than your tap room headspace, or rather than your volume headspace. Because frankly, even with our largest brewing partners, they may be redeeming 100 or more pints a month, but really for most of them, the all-in cost, as far as the pint pour or a BOGO pour, you're still giving you're still using a complimentary pint as a part of that transaction. It's about 40 to 60 cents all in. That includes overhead and everything else. So if you're even redeeming a higher volume of 100 plus members coming in and visiting your shop and buying more beers and taking crowlers home and telling their friends, that $50, per month, if you will, cost of goods charge or hit is pretty affordable marketing. It's really affordable marketing. A Google hit costs 60 cents cash, 70 cents, 75 cents cash. This is cost of goods, so you can account for it differently and sort of weave it into the program of what you're doing differently. Frankly, a lot of brewers, tap rooms blow out more beer, just cleaning their lines than redemptions with Craftapped. So it's super affordable, and it's a wonderful way of bringing qualified beer lovers into your brewery or cidery or winery or distillery. I mean, these people are members of our club, and so they've demonstrated by being members of Craftapped that they appreciate good beverages. They appreciate craft beer, and they want to explore it and check out new venues and visit ones that are favorite venues. menus, and if it's a favorite, then see what's new on the menu, and let's try something new. It's wonderful.
Awesome. Now, obviously, the breweries are only one part of the equation. You have to actually get people to download it and pay for the membership and so on. What was the process of rolling it out to the intended recipients and the actual purchasers of the app?
Oh, yeah. Well, I tell you, I mean, when we started, this is 6 years ago now, Dave, I think our goal was to just at least get 20 brewers on board so that we could take care of and, have places to go for what was essentially like 100 members. When we started, we just knew, you got to start anything somewhere. And so prospecting to potential customers, potential members on the front end really was people we knew and our fellow beer lovers. And then we just asked them to tell their friends and sort of expand that umbrella out further and further by people doing that on our behalf. But it really wasn't as much on our behalf as it was everybody that was a member on the front end really dug it right away. And so them telling their friends was more of an addition to their entertainment, because now they could have friends and go out and craft. It's become a verb, Dave. They go out and craft tap together. And so it's really been a fun project to watch grow in that way, and that people bring friends into the fold and they enjoy it together then, or they bring family members in, and then they can go out to tap rooms together and have fun and go out to other, beverage purveyors and have fun and try new things and explore new venues that may be far away from their home, but ones that they might not go to otherwise. But Craft Tap, it's on the list, it's on the map. Let's go give it a go. Let's give it a try and see what that was like. I heard about it from a friend. Let's go there. So those kind of experiences happen all the time. We do advertising and we do marketing work on our own, but on the front end there of getting those initial members to be a part of it, it was a fun experience, because they got it right away, they enjoyed it right away, and they shared it with their friends and people they knew right away.
Awesome. And of course, those people that are sharing it and their friends are where you started, which is your native Minnesota. Now, if you take a look at Craftapped, and I obviously recommend that you all do, I've got my membership as well. You have
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. You have some states that are available, and obviously one of those big hotspots is Florida. First of all, why Florida?
Well, we love the state and the brewers that are working there. It was always on our list. I mean, all 50 states are sort of on our expansion list. Where do we want to go next? Where do we want to see Craftapped be next? And hopefully be a success wherever we're going. And in the midst of the pandemic, we, saw that Florida was a place where, as we're expanding what we're doing with the app, the first thing is there's a lot of folks that go from Minnesota to Florida. So we felt we'd have a lot of sort of built-in enthusiasm, and that's held true between Minnesotans that go to Florida and enjoy Craft Tap there. Because unlike some of the other programs out there, the pass books and the maps, where you get your stamp on the map or your stamp in the pass book, and those are all fine and dandy in their own right. But for us, and those are all market specific, I should add. So, you got 30 brewers on different pages in a pass book. That's in XYZ metropolitan area, St. Paul, Minneapolis, or otherwise. Craft Tap, you can use it wherever there's Craft Tapped. So that's pretty cool. And so we knew Minnesotans that are going to be in Florida vacationing or snowbirding or visiting an aunt or a relative or a mom or a dad that are members here, that if we had places down there, they'd visit and they'd up the ante of enthusiasm there. Plus, we just knew there were a lot of great brewers and a lot of great beer fans in Florida. So that's kind of on the front end. The next thing, though, is in the midst of the pandemic, that's when we decided to go into Florida. And one of the reasons was we just knew the weather was going to make that more of an amenable spot for the brewers to become potential partners and have people that are members come join in, because you folks in Florida were able to set up more tents and parking lots and do that in the middle of January, because the weather was amenable to that. Here it's 5 below in January, and there's no tent in anybody's parking lot outside a brewery, unless it's a special event. The same thing held true for brewers in the St. Paul, Minneapolis area and the upper climates here, in that in the summertime, spring, summer, and fall, in the midst of pandemic, they could set up the tents and make sure they could keep separation as needed when that was around. And you get the idea. They could do it then, but in Florida, we knew all 4 seasons would be a place that members could go out and enjoy the offerings of the brewers that were a part of the Craft Tap world there.
Awesome. Was it easier coming to the breweries in Florida knowing that you already had something pre-existing in your home state, or was it starting over from scratch and trying to basically reinvent the wheel when you arrived?
Great question. No, definitely having a history as we have expanded from our very beginnings in St. Paul, Minneapolis. I mean, as we turned that cluster into a thing, when we first went to another sort of bigger city, if you will, it was a comparable sized metro. We went to Milwaukee. Milwaukee was our next venture as far as a city outside St. Paul, Minneapolis. And then, we continued onward to others in other states. But like in Florida, as with other states and other metropolitan areas, having a history and being able to demonstrate what we do and have an opportunity if folks wanted. I mean, we've got brewers everywhere that are willing to talk to other brewers, as they do anyhow, which is great. It's that sort of community thing that it's really a special thing, that they could call up any number of our partners and say, hey, how's this Craftapped thing working for you? Is it worth it? Is it a deal? Is it a thing? And, almost without fault, everybody says, it brings in people. They it's worth it. So having that history was very much an element that added not so much ease, but just it added an element of, we're in business, we're here to stay. And once they know the ethic of what we're trying to do, which is we started this business to support the craft beer world, and then it expanded to the craft beverage world in that broader sense, but it's the same vibe. We dug what these people were doing, and we came into business because we wanted to support that. We wanted to be that sort of ancillary business that supports this kind of business and supports their marketing and adds layers to how much they can sell, pushing more product out the door or in the tap room, as the case would be. So once they understood that that's, why and that is why we started this, why we continue this business, it became more of a thing that they knew, I hope they knew, that we were on their side, that our job was to make that, if we made them more successful and helped them become more successful or helped them through the tough times of the pandemic or whatever, got more people in there, got more people interested in their venue, brought new people in, they brought friends along. So that friend that didn't even know about this brewery came along with a Craftapped member, that's their buddy, and suddenly they got a new customer there because they were turned on to their place. That's what we're in the business of doing. So they got it, but understood also, to point to your question again, that we've been doing this for a while, and we have a success story behind us. We want to apply it to you.
Awesome. So obviously I'm taking a look at the map, and there's a lot of hot spots that you have. Obviously most of Florida is on there. There's a lot in, say Detroit and Milwaukee and Denver and obviously Minneapolis. But then you take a look, there's nothing in California, nothing in Texas. Do you have a game plan for just continuing to march up and down the eastern seaboard and on the Pacific coast to eventually get participants in every state?
Absolutely. And it may not be in sort of a geographic sense like you're saying, maybe, going from Florida up the coast, depending on the circumstances and what's going on with the economy and how states are doing and how much disposable income may be in one area as opposed to another, because those are factors that we have to look at, because, if you have a little more disposable income in any given area, the likelihood of people having that income available to enjoy a nice craft pour for $6 or $7 as opposed to a PBR tall boy for $3 or $4. And again, I love my PBR tall boys. I'm not being a beer snob here. I'm just pointing to, the cost difference and of course the quality difference, but that there's cost involved with that. Then you've got people that are more likely to do that and be able to become a Craftapped member and go out and support those venues. But yes, all 50? Oh, for sure. Absolutely. There's been some complications. I shouldn't call them complications, just peculiarities in some states. Some states
in what
have
ways?
More specific rules. Well, I'll give you an example. In California, they have very strict liquor control laws, and that's cool, but they have very strict laws about, what you can do. You can't give away a complimentary pint, for instance. In Minnesota, we have a combination of venues. Some love to give away the comp pint. Some are BOGO venues. Our members enjoy either one. But there's something special about the relationship that's formed when you go in with a Craftapped app on your phone and you're at a venue and you redeem and you get a pint. And the only thing we ask of our members really are two big things. We ask a lot of things, I guess. Come join us and have fun and bring your friends. But the two biggest things we say is, make sure you tip your server. You're getting a comp pint from that person and that venue. getting a comp pour. Tip your server, be nice to your server. And then the second big thing is buy more stuff. I mean, if you're enjoying the experience of the tap room, if you're enjoying the brew that you just had, then try another flavor, try another style. And if maybe they got food there, if you're hungry, spend some money there, support the venue, because it's not just brewers and tap rooms, as you've seen from our list there, Dave. It's hospitality venues too. It's bars and restaurants that support craft beer and support craft beverages. So they're a big part of the umbrella of Craftapped as well, is the bars and restaurants. Mind you, the margin's different for those guys. Instead of being able to pour a pint at a cost of good level like a tap room can, obviously their cost of goods is a little higher because they're getting that beer from a distributor and everybody's got to make some money along the way. So sure, the cost of the transaction at a bar restaurant is a little higher. Is it still worth it? I think so, because the members have shown us that they like bars and restaurants too, and they like to eat well crafted, using the word craft again, well crafted restaurant food. And so it makes the marketing equation work to the advantage of the venue, even if they're paying a little more, if the venue's paying a little more, to put that beer out there.
Awesome. And just to kind of double back on that, so it's really up to the venue to determine what the benefit is going to be, correct? Do you require them to choose between a few, or is it really their idea?
No. The venue can say, yeah, I'd like to be a pint pour. I'd like to be a BOGO pour. And then we've got a couple of venues along the way that set up other restrictions, which are easy to accommodate. We put those in the notes on the app. I mean, some don't want to do a craft tap pour for some of the more expensive beers, the above 7% ABV maybe, or other things like that. So yeah, they can certainly put some caveats in there, as far as how your membership's going to be executed. The bottom line is you're still going to get a complimentary pour or a BOGO pour. There just may be some restrictions on it. One venue here in St. Paul, Minneapolis does a really cool thing, and we continually encourage other venues to at least consider it, if not do it. And that is, they've drawn a line with Craftapped members at $6. And I love this idea. So, and they're a comp pour. So in other words, they're a full pint pour. So, you go in there, you use Craftapped, you can get a pour up to $6. And then it's complimentary. However, they've got some wonderful barrel ages and other things there, just other great stuff. So if it's above $6 in cost, the member then redeems for the pint of $6 and then just pays the difference in cash. So that works great, because they can use their Craftapped redemption, their credit, for something they really wanted to try, something that's maybe more expensive, or they heard about this Russian double stout or whatever they're looking at. And it's a tulip pour and it's $10. Well, they want to try it. So they pay $4 and they're still getting what they want. Everybody's happy. And then invariably, of course, as happens with Craftapped members, they're going to have another one after that, or they're going to call a friend, hey, I'm at XYZ tap room. Come on down. Let's enjoy some time together. That's what happens.
Awesome.
That kind of stuff happens all the time. Yeah, it's a community thing that happens all the time.
So obviously there's a lot of breweries that are in the state of Florida that are on Craftapped. There's a lot of breweries that aren't on Craftapped, and I'm specifically looking at you, Pensacola. So if any of the breweries, tap rooms, or anybody are listening, how much does it cost for a brewery to be listed on and join Craftapped?
Nothing. The transaction is the cost of goods, transaction of the complimentary pour. That's all we ask. That's all we ask is treat our members well, as we encourage our members to treat their servers and the venues well. We just hope for the same from the venues and gladly pour that complimentary pint, because one thing we've learned from the servers that we've worked with over the years, mind you, mostly in St. Paul, Minneapolis, because that's where we all live, but even traveling around and talking to some of the servers, they know that they've got a craft beer loving member in this Craftapped thing. And so we've talked to multiple servers, because I sort of do a lot of this behind the curtain research, because this is important to me from that how are people using Craftapped, how are the venues using Craftapped. And, obviously you can't do this always on a busy night. You're cranking, you're pouring, you're going. But when you got that member there and they got that comp pint, the more you kind of engage that member, because they're by definition, they really love craft beer. They've joined a club to be even closer to craft beer. I'll just give you an example. Server sees you're about a quarter, you've got a quarter of your pint left. they ordered a stout, just a couple of them say, hey, do you like stouts in general? Or do you like this? Or, what do you like? What styles do you like? Is this your kind of go-to thing? And they go, yeah, I really like the stouts. I like that kind of thing. And they, well, we just did this thing over this barrel aged thing. Have a little sample, boom. Suddenly you're giving them a sample. They're trying that out. Just the more you engage that beer lover, and by definition, Craftapped members are beer lovers, the more success you have with that transaction, that customer moment, that extended, hopefully, customer moment, because they're going to say, thanks, I appreciate it. I will take a pint of that, or a tulip, or whatever the serving is. So, but that's just server world in general, Dave. If you've ever worked in hospitality, that's how you want everybody. You don't want your waiters or waitresses or servers to be too forbearing on you. Hey, I'm hovering over you. How's that? Is that last taste okay? The kind of servers I'm talking about.
Exactly.
But just be engaged with your customer, and especially when it's a Craftapped member, they love beer. So talk their language and see if you can help them in any other way and encourage them to buy more stuff. That's part of your job as a server. Not in a bad way, it's in a good way. And so we found from many servers that when they do that, it really does lead to a broader, more successful moment. And frankly, it leads to conversation. It leads to the moment where that person who came in here, maybe they're a Craftapped member, it's visiting your venue for the first time, that engagement suddenly turns them into a regular customer for you, regardless of Craftapped. And every venue wants that. Every venue wants to turn a random customer or a first-time customer into a regular customer. Of course you want to
absolutely.
do that. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that level of engagement really does work. And you've got a sort of a spearhead to make that level of engagement better by the very fact that that's a Craftapped member. Because by definition, they're a fan of craft beer.
Awesome. And for the Craftapped members, obviously I know how, but how do you join? How do you find it? What are the details on that?
Well, it's right at craftapped.com. You can join for different levels. You can join just on a monthly level. You can join for 6-month membership. You can join for a 12-month membership. And of course, the longer you make that term of membership, the lower cost per month it is to you. Frankly, I should have looked at our website. My partner Bob kind of does price shuffling and different things like that. I can't recall right now what our price point is on a general membership, no matter where you live. But we do some encouragements as far as membership levels and costs, depending on different areas that we're, like any business, you're going into a new area, you want to make it more of an incentive to join the club. And so we did that with Florida. We offered a discounted membership for new members in Florida. And even when that discounted membership came up for renewal, we still offered a good discount for the renewal. Over the course of time, do those become regular cost memberships? Well, of course, that's the Netflix model or any kind of model like that. It's you try it out, you're willing to quote unquote take the risk on this new thing for you. It's a lesser cost on the front end once you enjoy it and like it. The cost probably will go up, just like it does for any one of those sort of subscription things or other things. Magazines are the same thing. Come in for the first year and get it for $9.95 for 12 issues. Your renewal rate probably will be $15.95, but that's okay. If you like the magazine, you're going to buy it. And so, frankly, you look at we have folks that want to just look at the numbers as far as members, and that's cool too. They're thinking, oh, geez, how much is this? So if they're at a membership level where it's, let's just say, $8 a month. Well, if you use your Craftapped membership, let's just say twice a month, if you're just looking at the numbers alone, the cost alone, you've already paid for your membership.
Awesome.
You've already paid.
I'm pretty sure that I've already paid for my membership, which is nice.
Dave Butler, I know you're a beer fan, so I think that probably in your first week you paid for your membership.
Not
I know you're a beer fan. Yeah, I know you're a beer fan. And by nature, people know you're a beer fan too, because look at the work you put into the wonderful beer world in Florida with what you're doing. So that's the whole idea. If you use it even just nominally, you're going to pay for your membership. If you're just looking at it from a strictly numbers perspective, if you're looking at it from that value point. But the other value points are the ones that I think are frankly more important to us and the kind of things that we try to emphasize to our members. And that is, it's the tap room vibe. And it's every one of these tap rooms, cocktail rooms, wineries, cideries, you go into those places, they're all distinct personalities. The space is a distinct personality. And of course, the servers that are working in that space, they add to the personality of that space. And the beers and the styles they're making and serving add another layer. And if they have food, that adds a fun layer. If they have games or whatever the layers are, there's multiple layers. But you're in this unique environment. And that's what we're always trying to encourage people to do, is spend some time and enjoy the unique environment that you've been introduced to as a beer explorer with Craftapped, and then move on to the next one and enjoy an experience there. And if you enjoyed the previous ones, go back and visit them again and make them a part of your travels and a part of what you do. But really enjoy the space, enjoy the people, enjoy the community that is craft beverages, because that's another part of it too. You're going to meet some unique folks that are like-minded spirits, whether they're a Craftapped member or not. You're certainly going to be in common company with a love of craft beer or craft beverages. And so that's the kind of thing that we're always really working on, making sure is first and foremost in the mind of our members is this is a unique experience opportunity. Every time you go into a new tap room, it's a unique experience opportunity. Take advantage of it and be a part of it. Immerse yourself in it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it. It just makes me want to fire up the app and go find some new places. What can I say?
Let me remind you, for Pensacola and elsewhere, breweries, cideries, wineries, distilleries, no cost to you. And it really is. It's a cool way of doing stuff, and it forms a big circular relationship, Dave, which is wonderful. With the brewers and the craft beverage makers, maybe they're bar restaurants. Either way, and then there's this path that runs through Craftapped, and then it comes to the members, and they circle right back to the brewers. And that sort of circuit is a wonderful experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it. And stay warm up there.
Thank you, Dave Butler. We'll see you when we're in Florida, my friend.
Absolutely. So there we go. Hopefully I'm going to be opening up my Craftapped app this weekend and doing a little 2-for-1 action. Kind of excited for that, to be perfectly honest with you. If you haven't done so, please make sure to check them out. Check us out. We'll be back next week with some interesting conversations about beer and crypto. Thank you so much for listening. This is Dave, your host and author. We will see you next week. Drink Florida Craft.